From day one of the Donald Trump Republican tax cuts, I've been reminding the audience and imploring and begging people to understand how these corporate tax cuts will be used. They will not be used to create jobs. They will not be used in ways that will be good for the economy at large or for the average worker. We knew from the beginning that these corporate tax cuts were going to be used by big companies to buy back company stock, to drive up the share price, and they will be used for companies that have plans of automating away jobs, offshoring jobs, leaving the United States with manufacturing facilities. The tax cut money will be used to accelerate that. Companies hire when there's more demand for their products. If you give corporations and rich people tax cuts, that doesn't generate more demand for their products. And Walmart is a great example of this. This is yet another one of these data points, which I will tell you about momentarily, that confirms exactly every single one of our predictions about how these tax cuts would work. A great example of this that we already knew about from before the tax cuts was, remember that huge victory that Donald Trump and Mike Pence claimed before Trump was even inaugurated? Trump claimed to have made a big deal to keep an air conditioning factory. I believe it was Carrier. I'm going from memory here. Carrier in Indiana. Maybe it was Ohio, but I think it was Indiana. And Trump said, we made a deal. They are now going to stay because they believe in the business environment that we will have under the Trump administration or whatever. It wasn't a deal. Trump just gave them money. That's not economic policy. It's here, take some cash. And ultimately, once we got past the propaganda, Carrier still decided to move jobs out of the United States and still decided to continue moving forward on the automation of many of the jobs that they planned to automate for a while before Donald Trump handed them some cash. We even heard from company executives that they would be using some of that money to continue moving in the direction of automating more of their jobs. That was before Donald Trump's tax cuts even went into effect. Walmart has now announced that it will be laying off 570 employees in North Carolina. They're going to close their corporate office near Charlotte's airport. Walmart saved $1.6 billion in the first 3 quarters of 2018, thanks to Donald Trump's tax cuts, according to the New York Times. And the bigger picture estimate is that Donald Trump's corporate tax cut will save Walmart about $2.2 billion per year. This is why you can't fall for the headline about bonuses that companies are paying because of Trump's tax cuts or wage increases or whatever. Trump and other right-wingers made a huge deal of Walmart paying some employees these $1,000 bonuses, all thanks to Donald Trump's wise and incredibly intelligent tax cuts. Donald Trump would talk about it all the time back in January of 2018. He would retweet stuff like this clip from his friend Maria Bartiromo over at Fox Business Network in January of 2018, claiming massive victory at Walmart because of the tax cuts. Take a look.
Trickle-down tax reform. Walmart, the country's largest private employer, just announced major changes, saying that it will raise its U.S. minimum wage to $11 an hour. It will pay a one-time bonus of up to $1,000 to hourly workers, and it will expand maternity and parental leave benefits. President Trump spoke more about the positives of tax reform during his cabinet meeting yesterday.
Wow, $11 per hour and $1,000 bonuses, which, by the way, still doesn't take most of those employees out of the federal poverty level of income. And then hours later, after that video, after that announcement, Walmart announced it was going to close 63 Sam's Club stores. They were laying off thousands of people. And by the way, they all of a sudden had $20 billion to do a stock buyback, which is really great for their executives. And it's really great for their big shareholders. This is how it works, okay? This is not a bug. This is a feature of how these tax cuts are designed to work. Qualcomm did the same thing. They did a $10 billion stock buyback and laid off 1,500 people in California. This is why it is correct for people like Bernie Sanders and Andrew Yang and Elizabeth Warren to be going after these companies that pay no taxes or pay very little in taxes, and then they lay people off, and then they automate jobs, and then they do stock buybacks, and they are completely subsidized by the government, which subsidizes their low wages for their employees, with various welfare programs. And I want to be super clear here that I'm being understood about what my view is. Of course, companies are going to do this if they are allowed to do it. This isn't about anything other than restructuring the regulatory environment and what these companies are allowed to do, and understanding that in order to fix the problem we have in this country of inequality and a system of government justice of everything for the rich and corporations, and a different system for what we might call the underclasses, we are going to need to seriously rethink more than just should the minimum wage be $11, $12, or $15. Like that's not going to solve the problem, okay? We're not talking about taking these companies out of business, okay? They wouldn't be good for the economy for Amazon and Carrier and whatever companies you want to name to go out of business. That's not what we're targeting. That's not what social democrats want. They employ people. They provide products that people want and need. What I am saying is that they can pay their fair share, period. They can play by tighter rules, period. And what you have to understand is that the anti-socialism movement on the right is a red herring, bad faith movement, partially because anything they don't like, they just call socialism. And we've talked about that before. But they actually benefit from the closest things to socialist policies that exist in the United States. The closest thing we have to socialism is the way in which corporate America's costs are socialized through welfare programs and corporate welfare, but the profits are all theirs. We talk about this with environmental disasters, okay? It's extremely common in the United States that environmental disasters for fossil fuel companies and energy companies, it's capitalism for the profits to their corporations, to the corporations, and then it's socialism for the cleanup costs for the damage they do to the environment, okay? This has to stop. We have said it before, and I'll say it again. This is bigger than a $15 minimum wage. This is bigger than paid family medical leave. This has to be a bigger restructuring of our relationships to work and the corporate regulatory environment. You're not going to get it from Republicans. You're not going to get it from centrist Democrats. That's an important thing. We talked yesterday on the show how Joe Biden was caught. He said behind closed doors to rich donors in New York City, I'm going to be loyal to you. I need you. Nothing significantly is going to change for you. Centrist Democrats are not going to change this. They'll throw some crumbs while letting the rich keep their big, rich, decadent cakes, as I said yesterday, and they'll throw some cake crumbs to the lower middle and middle class. Something else is going to need to change. And most candidates, basically every Republican and centrist Democrats, don't even want to admit that our problems are bigger than bringing back some manufacturing jobs or increasing the minimum wage to $15. You're not dealing with the systemic issues. Let me know what you think. I'm on Twitter at @DPakman. The show is on Twitter at David Pakman Show. I will be taking your phone calls shortly. I will also be dealing later on in the show with a very interesting audience question about isolationism versus non-interventionism. They are very different things, and the political, domestic political and geopolitical implications of one versus the other are drastically different. That's coming up a little bit later today. One of today's sponsors is Impeach the Card Slap Game. You cannot slap Donald Trump in real life, but you can slap him in this hilarious, fast-paced two-player card game, and you can get it for 10% off when you go to davidpakman.com/impeach and use the coupon code PakmanShow at checkout, all one word. Awesome for parties when you're having a few drinks. I've been playing it with some friends of mine. Currently has a 5 out of 5 star rating on Amazon, and it combines clever satire about the Trump administration with really funny, high quality cartoon artwork, all in a really lively card game that's easy to learn, but it stays interesting every time you play it because of how well designed it is and really how much thought went into the humor and the political commentary. The game covers a ton of themes: global warming, Russian collusion, tax cuts for the wealthy. Impeach the Card Slap Game is perfect if you're looking for something fun and casual to do with your politically minded friends or family members. You might even learn something new about the Trump administration while you're playing the game. It's a perfect gift for anyone who has a sense of humor about Trump, or get it for yourself and have a really fun and witty game to play when people come over. You can even play it tournament style. Get Impeach the Card Slap game by going to davidpakman.com/impeach and get 10% off when you use the coupon code PakmanShow at checkout, all one word.